Main Street is the friendliest coffee shop in the world. I have to roll.
Okay. We're streaming. We're live.
And hello, everybody. It is Tom Chenault. It's the Tom Chenault Show. And what a day it is. We have got two crazily good guests today. This one and this one. I have no idea who they are. I don't know their names. But before we even go there, I know you all know who Fraser Brooks is. He's the Ninja Networker. And I am a huge proponent of him, his work. He is an absolute genius. His dad's name is Simon. His brother's name is Corbin. He loves his mother. He loves his fiance. His parents live in England, and he lives in Frankfurt, Germany. And he's got more people on his Facebook Lives than you'll ever want, even more than Eric Worre. And I just want everybody to know that he is a horrible person. So I just did a Facebook Live. And I just did a Facebook Live, and all I'm looking for is approval from Fraser Brooks. And do you know what his comment was?
What was it?
Pick your nose hairs.
Wow.
Don't you think, I'm not a private message on my wall. So that's what I did. I picked my nose hairs and I sent him pictures of me picking my nose hairs. But Fraser, we're even, I'm telling your dad, and he is going to take you to the woodshed, I hope. So how do you guys do it?
You know what? We're doing awesome. Happy to be here.
James Rouse, unbelievable human being. I mean, his accolades are so long, we're not even going to get into them. I want you to know this might be one of the purest souls I've ever met in my life. He's a naturopathic doctor. His wife is too. Incredibly accomplished. He's been on Channel 9, which is a local news station, the biggest one in Colorado, for years upon years upon years. And he's been my idol for all that time because he's fit, he's handsome, he's happy, he's got it together. None of those things that I have, he's got them all. And that's why God's so not fair, because he got them all, I got none. And then on the other side of that is my former upline in New Skin, Chris Ebersberg. And over 25 years ago, when I first quit drinking, I got into New Skin. And so they said, okay, you need to edify your upline. So I go up my upline. One of them I didn't want to edify. And I finally got up to Chris. And Chris was making all the money. And he had this beautiful wife from Austria named Sylvia. And they were skiing in Breckenridge, Colorado. They had the house, they had the home, they had the kids, they had it all. Everything I wanted, they had. And here, both of my idols are sitting in studio right now, talking about where network marketing is going to go in the next 30, 40, 50 years, and how you are exactly in the right spot at the right time, even though you're confused by all the technology and you're wondering if it's going away from human beings, loving and touching human beings. The answer is absolutely not. I'm going to stop talking. Am I right or am I wrong, James Rouse?
You know, Tommy, I think, number one, thank you. It's an honor to be here. And I think the thing that people are all right now really asking themselves is, how is it that this industry can save itself from itself?
Yeah.
Because I think for all of us who love people and love serving, we've always wondered whether or not could this be a model for us that we can build abundance from.
Yep.
And to me, there's no question, it's the only way we can. And people who get away from that are the ones who I think will struggle with two things. Number one, their business, but more importantly, they'll struggle with a sense of purpose.
You are at the top of the mountain, literally and figuratively. You live 8,000 feet above sea level in Evergreen, Colorado. You've got a beautiful family, a beautiful life, a huge piece of property up there. You own your life, and you decided to step back into network marketing in a major way. Why?
You know, Tommy, I think it's probably a very selfish reason. I love witnessing people remember how good they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what network marketing does, it gives everyone an opportunity to connect with a part of themselves that makes them come alive. Right. And there's a part of it, I think you, Tommy, you've taught me this in the time that we've been together, that when you see someone experience what we love to call in the industry of personal development, something called self-efficacy, which is simply being a witness to yourself, following through on your good intentions. I think all of us know what it looks like to actually look at our life and say, you know what, there's certain things missing. And for me, coming into this industry again was only for the idea of actually witnessing what it looks like when people do remember and then connect to, and then give themselves permission to make good on that good intention. which is simply living up to what they know is inside of them. Network marketing is blessed in such a way that allows people to connect physiologically, emotionally, and spiritually with the truth of what we all are, and do it in a way that allows people to become contagious to other human beings, which I think is where people catch fire.
Wow. What do you think about that, Chris Ebersberg?
Now you know why I'm a fan.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same thing that I was saying when we reconnected a few months back, that my experience shows that if we can increase the belief that people have in their own skills, their efficacy, if we can increase their skills and their belief in it, amazing things will happen, and production will happen based on that skill enhancement, rather than trying to get somebody to behave one way, buy into something, and then try to get their always building their belief on the back end. It's kind of like filling a bucket with holes in it. I like James's approach, and that's why I'm compelled to build a dynasty.
Yeah, and what you guys have done, I think people are scared to death because they don't know. They know intuitively and inherently that relationships are what it is, but every day they're getting different messages from different gurus about this sign up with a click and everything's going to happen for you. And technology is great. There is no doubt about it. Facebook Messenger, Facebook group chats, Zoom, all that stuff. But if you aren't connecting people, and if you aren't taking those people offline, you are building a house of straw. Agreed?
Absolutely. And I think that's the fun part right now, Tom. What you and I have talked about over these last several months, what Chris and I are talking about on a daily basis, is what we believe is sort of the confluence of both intrinsic and extrinsic motivations for people today. And I think what we know about this industry, what is so beautiful about it, is that's, yes, if you work in this industry and you give yourself permission to lean all the way in and truly serve, all the extrinsic opportunities are there for you, the abundance. But if you're not coming at it from a place of intrinsic desire and intrinsic alignment, which simply means this is for reasons bigger than just myself, that's where I think the disconnect happens. And to your point, Tommy, that's where the house of cards is built. And I think ultimately what we're all trying to find here and here in the Earth School, we're walking around here in the Earth School, we're trying to learn everything we can. So whatever happens after this experience is something that we leave feeling good and whole about. It's because we actually connected with that part of ourselves that said, you know what? I have witnessed myself leaning into the magic of watching another human being connect with that part of themselves that then became a connection to the other human being. And how that becomes this force of contagion. And there's so much beautiful science. I think this industry is wonderfully an anomaly about, Tommy, and that is this whole idea of something called moral contagion. And I don't want people to kind of define moral, because that's not what this is about. Moral simply means doing something that's good. And how it is that more and more people are looking to see the definition lived and wanting to emulate it. In this industry, we always talk about how do we actually recruit and retain and keep people with us? Well, you know what? Continually improve the human being that you are, because that's the most contagious thing that the mind and the heart is looking to follow.
Holy mackerel. I dare you to try to write all that down, Pamela Schwartz, but that was awesome. Somebody write all that down. That's probably a book right there, but that's exactly right. And I thought Contagion was a movie.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. I
think it was a movie too, Tommy, but
I don't ever want to play words with friends with this guy. I do want to tell you that. Holy mackerel. Yeah, that's exactly right though. And all of us need to do that. We need to get better at telling one on ourselves, of not being so hip, slick, and cool. People don't even like your nice cars. I've got nice cars. I've got a nice house. I've got all this nice stuff. People hate me for it. They don't like me for it. They resent me for it. They like me for the spit on the sidewalk, down to earth, misfit loving guy that I am. That's why people like me.
you know why they love you? Because I can tell you why I love you. Why do I love Tom Chenault? It is this simply.
He's thinking, look how funny. No, that's so funny.
I want to make sure I don't miss this, because it's that important to me.
Cool.
The house of vulnerability lies in one's willingness to be seen.
Yeah.
And the vulnerability house is where we all want to be welcome to. When I first met Tom Chenault, he was the first one who was open to telling me the truth about why he is who he is. And he didn't edit it so it looked cool. He didn't edit it so it was something that looked like, oh my goodness, this pristine human being has just dropped in my life. No, who dropped in my life was who we all want to be next to. Someone whose story who made us feel like we were also at home in his story. Tommy's story is my story. Tommy's story is Chris's story. Tommy's story is your story. That's what we want to be around. We want to feel like this house of vulnerability, we all feel welcome, is the truth of what it all is that we're all working on. We've all got something broken inside of us, and the only way we heal it is together. And the only way we actually come together is by being seen.
Holy mackerel. James, you got to tell me when the first break is. All right, hold it up or something. It's unbelievable. We could be talking forever. And we're going to talk in the break because obviously during the break on this show, there's commercials on the radio, but there aren't commercials on this show. And I want to talk, I'm going to tell you guys how we really got back together because it is a story that's going to bring tears to your eyes. But all of us have that kind of connection in us if we will just stop looking good. And you're a king of that. I mean, I found you the same way. It's the surrender experiment. The universe brought you back in my life. I called you on the phone. You had written a curriculum around recovery. And I said, are you that guy that used to be my idol? And you said, yes, I am. And I said, then you still are, right?
That's how it was. There are no accidents in the universe.
There aren't. And there, I guarantee it. So the name of the game with us is we need to stay connected and we got to get more connected. And you have changed over 30 years. I haven't seen you in 10 years when you emailed me out of the sky blue when I was in a very down time in my life. And I don't have down times in my life. I was at a down moment in my life in the middle of the night it was the early in the morning for me. So it was the middle of, I don't know when it was. I was in Australia. So whenever it was early in the morning in Australia and I'm walking the streets.
It was 4 o'clock in the morning in Australia and you were going to find a meeting.
Yeah, I was going to find an AA meeting because my head was spinning on something. And he wrote me an email and I hit send. I saw the email, his phone number was in there. I hit send and we fell in love because God's got this. That's what you guys need to know. God's got this. The people that you need in your life, you already know. They're already there. All you need to do is open up to the fact that God's got this. And that's hard to open up to because we are such control freaks, right?
It's so true, Tommy. And I think the thing that where you said a moment ago about this whole idea that we are moving so towards technology and technology seems to be the answer. And how do we actually build a business by leveraging all the different mediums and all the platforms? You know what? That's awesome. But that will only do the one thing for you, which will get you to be seen.
Yeah.
The most important thing is you seeing others. And I think that's really what this is all about, is whether or not you are going to see others. Because if you broadcast this level of what I think Tommy's done for me, this short time of our reconnection, the big takeaway, and I think everyone who's part of Tommy's community will say this, is what Tommy's all about. Tommy is looking for ways to make sure that he remembers you.
Bingo. All right, we're taking a break. We're going to come back right after this. This is the Tom Chenault Show. And we're back. So, all right, so now we're at the commercial. So we'll be on the commercial for a couple of minutes. So this is like, you can ask questions on Facebook because now I'm actually able to look down. Oh my God, this must be an unbelievable show because guess who's actually watching it?
Who's watching?
Denise Chenault.
Whoa, right on, Denise.
I can't believe it. Jackie Joyo. She and everybody's talking about how beautiful you guys are. Somebody wrote, Tom, you sure have a big face. Very nice. Was that Fraser Brooks again? Unbelievable. But yeah, crazy. This is just such a sad day. But I'm going to tell you all one thing right now. If you don't have the contact mapping app, you're out of your mind. Because I'll tell you one thing right now, it enabled me to track down Chris Ebersberg. A flash in my mind. I saw him, he was in a curriculum. I said, that's the Chris Ebersberg that was my upline in New Skin, and I tracked him down through contact mapping. Was his phone number in my book? No. But the phone number of somebody that knew somebody was in my book, and they found Chris Ebersberg for me. Same thing with James Rouse. I am telling you guys, document everybody and follow them up. Don't follow them up. If you start calling them up and throwing them up on them, you're going to get killed. But if you call them up and love them, one of these days they're going to return your call, right? It's all
That's
it
how it
is.
works.
It's all about love, right?
It is.
Love like crazy, then love more. Fire your brain, hire your heart. If you share this show, I will give you $5 off on a Love Like Crazy, Then Love More t-shirt. So all you got to do is share this thing, and we're going to track you down. So we're going to spot the share. And if you shared the show, we're going to give you $5 off on one of those shirts. And do I have any idea how much they cost? No. So I'm not going to tell you that. So that's what's so funny, because I could just raise the price 10 and then discount 5, and I would have got you for 5, but I'm not going to do that. I'm telling you, I'm going to give you a true, I'm reading their mind. That's what they're thinking. They're going, that flim flam man's going to do that. So I'm telling you, I think like a flim flam man, but I'm not. I used to be a flim flam man, so that's why I knew what you thought you were thinking. But at the end of the day, we're going to give you a true discount on these t-shirts, and they are beautiful. James, go see if you can find one so we can hold it up on screen, will you?
Are we still in a commercial, Tom?
Yes. Why do you think not? Do you think I'd be talking about contact mapping?
Because I actually want to do a plug in relationship to contact mapping.
Hit it.
So here's the thing. We were just
Wait,
talking.
did we come back on the show yet?
Now, this commercial that we're doing right now, this is going to be an underscoring what Tom is all about. Before we went to break, we talked this whole idea of being seen and allowing others to be seeing you. Here's what we do know about how true contagion happens. And this idea of contagion, don't take us down this path of this movie that talked about an epidemic and a bacteria. This is really all about the idea that the part of our brain that knows, wow, I want to get one of those. That's cool.
All right, keep going.
The part
This
of,
might actually fit you. This shirt does not fit my arm. That is so funny. Yeah, and James is going, oh my God.
this is a perfect
That
shoulder
is
pad.
hilarious. Yeah, that is so funny. Yeah, we're gonna get you one. Yeah.
So here's the thing about contagion. What you need to know, and this is the most beautiful thing, so many times in life, and listen, I want you to know I am profoundly dyslexic. I don't read well, I write even worse. I barely made it through school. But what's beautiful about the idea of knowing that about myself is that it's the first place I tend to go when someone tends to want to know whether or not they can get close to me. The closest way that we allow people to get close to us is by making sure they can see the parts of ourselves that they most see as the altruistic side of every human being. We spend so much time, Tommy, fortifying a story that's not the truth of who we are, hoping that someone's going to fall in love with this other version.
Absolutely right. We gotta go back. We gotta go back. All right.
So are we back now?
Just a second. Count to 2. 1, 2. And we're back. This is the Tom Chenault Show on the Genesis Communication Network. Thank you, Ted Anderson. We love you to death for putting us on the air all over the world. You are the king of radio, and I sincerely appreciate it. And James Rouse, I am telling you, we got to get him on your network because he's about 1 million times better than me. Content-wise, intellect-wise, and it's radio, so we're all the same looking. But that's about it. So we're back, and we're talking about network marketing and the fact that, and you guys have been talking about social responsibility. And Chris, I want you to talk about that a little bit. You are a man of the universe. What you want to do as a network marketer that you did very, very well, you stepped away from it for a long time because it wasn't working for you anymore. You came back in because you finally realized you could affect change in a profession that desperately needs it.
Absolutely. The thing that astounded me is the quality of people getting involved or that have evolved in network marketing is at an all-time high. Right after I got out of my old corporate job, we went out to Las Vegas, went to the GoPro event, and the people that I met there were a completely different generation and attitude than 30 years ago. I mean, duh. However, the idea is that I saw people really resisting getting involved in a business with mentorship, that some of these people could charge $100, $200, $300 an hour as a personal coach. James charges at least $1,000 an hour for his coaching, which he does on Fortune 100 companies, and has a network company to where anybody could literally line up, buy a kit for 30 or 40 bucks and get free coaching at that level. And for me to see people resisting the incredible ability to develop one's skills, all my corporate skills came out of network marketing. I don't have a college degree. I went to college twice, once for a football game, once for a party. I don't remember either of them. That was my college experience. but I needed to learn somehow. And network marketing, I was exposed to when I was 20 years of age, 20. I learned how to communicate. I learned how to win friends and influence people. I learned how to have communication skills. I learned how to follow up. Remember back in the day, our deal was tenacity rules, but follow up wins. You got to be a little tenacious. You got to be forward. But if you can't follow up, you got to tend the garden. So everything I learned was from this industry. And luckily, I retained some of it, was able to leverage in corporate America, but the ceiling just beat me up. My head, I'm seeing stars from hitting my head against the ceiling so many times.
And and not only have you made millions in network marketing, you lost millions.
I did.
And here's a guy that didn't graduate from college and actually didn't go to much college at all, who was able to make millions. And he got in the foxhole with some wrong people and ended up getting tattooed by them, and it actually ran him out of the business. But it only ran him out of the business long enough to look at it and say, you know what? Corporate America is not what it's cracked up to be. I tried really, really hard. I climbed to the top of that ladder. I realized there was a ceiling there. And I have decided to come back with a vengeance. And you've done that.
You can't really change a lot of lives in a cubicle. You just can't. You can be customer service and you can be nice and you can help people. But to truly change people's lives. Do you remember the book Megatrends, John Nesbitt's book back in 1980? He wrote this book, and I think chapter 3 was called Networking, Smashing the Corporate Pyramid. And he talked about this thing that this technology that was emerging was going to, if we could just blend high tech with high touch, this whole new networking phenomenon was going to develop. And we changed our industry name based on that book. We called ourselves network marketing because we were networking. But what's happened is we have this huge pendulum swing over to the high tech. And there's so little touch, and the touch is like fake. It's these posts on these fabulous parts of our lives, but nobody gets to see, the dirty laundry part and the place where you have to wake up with messy hair. It's not a perfect life. It's not just all package. It's high tech and high touch. If we blend that back together and just have the heart for what's really going on, we're going to attract a lot of people. And that's the bold claim that James is making. Why I'm so attracted is community first, monetization is optional, growth is mandatory. And if we look at it that way, if we really care about people and growth is mandatory and community is going to be there, if a person wants to monetize, I think there's going to be phenomenal success, but they don't have to. They just have to grow, right?
They just have to grow. And I think that's for a lot of people, when they hear that, they immediately put their guard up, because I think once we kind of know that, it's either the blessing or the burden of unrealized potential, right? And I think everyone who's part of your community, Tommy, and what we all believe to hold in common is that we all know if we've got a heartbeat, there's room to grow. We all know that if we actually have this understanding that the blessing or the burden of unrealized potential is something that we can use for us, and then it becomes literally a way that becomes back to this whole idea of contagion. There's nothing more compelling than someone who carries hope. Science tells us.
James is the worst producer. We have to take another break. Oh my God. We'll be right back. It's the Tom Chenault Show. Stick around. And we're back. Oh, I love the commercials. All right, let's see. Michelle Rudisell. Talk about her.
Michelle Rudisell is she's my twin flame.
Yeah.
And she is my super soul sister. And she is somebody who has been in this industry since the beginning of I think her early 20s. She entered. And what Michelle is really all about is living up to what this industry was created to do.
Yeah.
Really help people to connect with the parts of themselves that they feel like is their secret sauce, and make sure that secret sauce gets poured on every human being they come in contact with.
That is so cool. Ken Ludwig, I've known him for years.
Kenny's here?
He's watching. I can't believe it.
I love Kenny.
Adam Chandler, big kid from Fort Collins. He must have seen you on Channel 9. He's never been on this show either. I'm just looking at names of people that I haven't ever seen. Sepp Hawk from Australia, one of the great guys, one of the great contact mapping testimonials of all time. He lives in Noosa. You ever been to Noosa?
I have.
Oh my gosh.
And they have the best yogurt in the world.
Oh, there's no Noosa yogurt. I wonder, hey, Sepp, write down if that really even comes from there, will you please?
It actually comes from Boulder.
Yeah. Jen Velasic wins a $10 discount on the t-shirt. because of her comment. The shirt looks great on you, Tom. So yeah, that's a winner.
Jen is awesome.
Yeah,
I've only seen Jen through her comments on Facebook over the last few days, but I love Jen.
Yeah, she's got a great eye, that girl. So yeah, and you guys just have fun in this business. Look how much fun. And we all are complete in 100%. Do I dare tell them? Bill W?
Do with me.
Go for it.
These guys are sober. These guys are sober men. AA card carrying sober men. So I get to hang around in my life with people that not only are network marketers, but my buddies from Alcoholics Anonymous. And when you start talking gratitude in life and being able to vibrate at a common level, that's when you get to talk. And I asked these guys, did you notice? I asked them if I could betray their anonymity, and they said yes. That is a beautiful thing, because I love these two guys right here, and we think alike. And when I was in the middle of the night, there's a book out there called The Surrender Experiment, where I try to never say no. I always say yes, no matter what. And I'm just walking through the streets of Sydney that day and thinking about what, God, bring me an answer. And I look at my phone and there's an email from James, and he's got some troubled times on his side of the fence. And he said, give me a call. And we called and we made 2 + 2 = 20, didn't we?
We sure did.
We fell in love. And that's the most important part. That's what you do, everybody. I mean, it's that simple. Contact mapping, nocontactmapping.com. I don't care what it is. You definitely see if I don't do that. Adrian's the only sponsor of the show. And so he pays $1 for each spot. So I cannot afford to rip him off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I think this whole idea, Tommy, that goes back to why we do what we do. There's something we talk about a lot in the spiritual circles called the quantum field. And the quantum field is a place where we set an intention. Tommy walking through the streets of Sydney, me sitting up in the mountains in Evergreen, me going through a struggle, calling Tommy, asking for advice. Haven't talked to Tommy in over 10 years. Tommy picks up the phone. That's the quantum field doing. I mean, we always love to say that the universe conspires for us if we get out of the way and allow the ego to surrender, so it can actually conspire to bring people together so they can reflect for one another what's possible. And I think what network marketing really has done for all of us who are part of this industry, it has allowed us to actually trust the quantum field. We all can say serendipity. Well, serendipity is simply meaning chance favors the prepared heart. That's all serendipity is. Chance favoring the prepared heart. If your heart is prepared to receive love and give love, then you know what? Then the universe conspires for you. Only, always.
Yeah. And those of you that keep telling me to stop looking down, I wouldn't be able to reply to your call. What do you think I have? Like 5 eyes, or I can split them? So I have to do that. These guys have to pay attention. I'm trying to pay attention to everything and produce this show and figure out James's clock, which is impossible. Because, I mean, you'd think the guy could, it's unbelievable. I'm not going to judge him. I don't think he did very well in arithmetic. So that's
the funny part for me is I have no idea when we're on a break and when we're not.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one beautiful thing about it too. So contactmapping.com.
Neither does anybody else.
And then we have the peanut gallery called Marianne Niehaus, you just heard. All right, we're coming back. Stick around for 2 seconds. Contactmapping.com. Go there. And we're back. This is the Tom Chenault Show. We are with Chris Ebersberg and the great Dr. James Rouse. You want to know who they are, you want to know more, just go up to the very top title, and they are hyperlinked. So friend them up on Facebook. Send them a private message on Facebook. Tell them that whatever you want to tell them. I mean, these guys are great guys. They are here to help. They're not here to recruit you. They are here to help you. They are here to help make this profession the biggest, best profession on the planet. We've got that capability. We are in a hopeless world. I just read an editorial in the Washington Post by George Will yesterday. And I don't know if you saw, oh my God. And he said, this is the worst times since Nixon, when he was doing Watergate or whatever that was and doing all that lying and all that cheating and all that. He said, what's going on now pales in comparison to that, because we are totally talking trash and bullying other human beings. And that is going to be the death of us, no matter what political party you are, no matter what kind of human being you are. We've got to love like crazy. We've got to love like then love more. We've got to fire your brain, hire your heart. We've got to do that. We've got to be the other side of that. It will attract more people to network marketing than all the money, all the cars, all the houses, all the horses, whatever it is. It's that simple. So that's my rant on that. Can you believe we both read that article?
We in that article is something you want to read, but you want to be ready for it, because it'll definitely pummel your faith for a moment, and then until you remember this industry. I read that and I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, you know what? When someone like George Will, who's a conservative guy who tells it like it is and is not going to pull any punches, when he says this is the worst of the worst, that guy doesn't do that unless he's really, really in a space where he's going, guys, I want to do something to help pull you forward. So it's something, Tommy, that I think you and I talked about, Chris and I talk about this every single day. When you look at the cars, when you look at the trips, when you look at all the things that this industry wants to be about.
Why is he pointing at me?
No, I'm not. Because you just mentioned those things.
I was kidding. You were going, it was hilarious.
You were mentioning those
All
things.
right, keep going.
And here's what's interesting. All those things actually do create hope for others. And that's why this
No
industry
question.
is sexy. But you know where this industry becomes spiritual? When you actually talk about where you were before those things happened.
No question.
And that's the part that George Will didn't touch on, that the Hugh Charitable Trust touched on a couple of weeks ago. They did a research on what it is that neurochemically the human being is looking for more than anything today. And really what it all comes down to, who embodies more hope? And where does hope come from? Love. The one who's not afraid to actually be seen and allow others to actually see inside of themselves and share stories that are real and about your resilience, the way you've overcome the small thinking, the way that you've actually overcome, a family story. You've overcome. When I talk about, and Kenny will appreciate this, Ken Ludwig was a good friend of mine. I'll never forget the morning that I woke up in an elevator with vodka in one hand and tequila in the other. And a face bruised because I fell off the side of a parking lot at a family wedding at age 20. And it was in that moment when I actually couldn't even crawl out of the elevator at age 20, holding both of those things in my hands, because I didn't want to let go of them, that I realized these had a hold of me. And that's why today, literally 37 years later, that is so etched in my soul about what it means to actually have someone who was the elevator operator pull me out of that elevator, look me in the eye and say, my goodness, you are so much better than what you're presently participating in. No one had ever shared that with me in my entire life. A stranger said it to me. This industry is stranger stopping stranger just to say hello. And we then build what I love to say is chosen family. Chosen family as transmission happens. That's where we leave transaction. This is an industry that talks so much about transaction, but you know where this industry really lives? It's in transmission.
Oh, yeah.
It's all that energy transmission. Seeing another human being that you know something about what you see in them relates back to something to you, and you reflect it in such a way that's sincere and beautiful. And where they say leadership lies is in hope. Hope is when you see somebody beyond all the other things and you pull themselves out of a place that they've resided in because you know it's no longer where they belong. That's what we are. We are pollinators of hope in this industry, and we are busy bees. And if it doesn't benefit the whole hive, it's certainly not going to benefit the bee.
Think about that. What do you think about that, Chris? Mr. Deepness.
Yeah, I'm speechless. And that's not usual for me. It's so true. It's hope, the possibilities of things to come. The idea that there is a possibility, that there's an alternative. A life without hope is unfathomable. And there's people that are living without hope. There's people that have given up to those lives of quiet desperation. And it's not to go out and judge them, but like you said, just to smile without thinking that you have to cash in on it. It's not all about just making a mark out of somebody, but being a positive force of change, just in a smile, and really meaning it, just because you recognize, being astute enough to be able to see somebody else's pain and to recognize it, and not to fix it, not to cure it, but just sometimes just to know I get you. So,
yeah. Tommy, you're going to love this story because I know you and I have talked about sports before. There was a study that was done on baseball players back in 1950. And basically they took all the baseball cards for all the players in 1950. And they just basically were looking for one thing. They wanted to see whether or not the people in the baseball cards were smiling.
Right.
And what they found 60 years later, the ones on baseball cards who were actually exposing their teeth and smiling, they were more likely to be alive than the ones who didn't smile in their baseball card. And more importantly, not just being alive, but having made dramatic impact after baseball was over.
You're kidding.
Not kidding. So what happens when you smile? You release endorphins, and you're literally releasing.
Look at James smiling. Oh my God.
You know what's cool about this?
He's trying to release endorphins.
You release endogenous opioids, and we know all about opioids. Endogenous opioids are naturally occurring painkillers that literally are transmitted and given to other human beings just by smiling at them, not making a transaction, but making a transmission.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it,
There
everybody.
you go.
That's exactly right. So this opioids, alcohol, drugs, marijuana, all this stuff. Do you believe that people are just, I mean, we've got an epidemic on our hand, and we can blame the pharmaceutical companies in Purdue, but at the end of the day, are people going to that stuff because they're so afraid? They're disconnected with society. They don't know what to do, and they're finding that's where they can hide. Do you believe that's kind of what's going on out there?
You know, I think there's probably some of that going on there. You know, but here's what we also know what's going there. You know, it used to be that booze and drugs were destroying and then taking people's lives at an epidemic level, which it still is. But you know what's actually eclipsing that today, Tom?
What?
Loneliness.
Yeah.
Loneliness.
There you go again. That's the same thing.
Same thing. So we have to look at where it is that people are using drugs, using alcohol because of the pain that they are from being alone. And why, again, we come back to, again, this industry. Is this industry going to save people? Possibly. Is this industry going to help people from being alone? No doubt. But it only does it if we are interested in making sure we're actually transmitting good energy, helping to grow people, helping to love on people, loving like your t-shirt says, loving in such a way that people are marinating in possibility, not doing drive-by love, the kind that you're marinating in.
And building an army like that is what you guys are up to.
Yeah, you know what? We are literally a conspiracy, Tommy. We are a spiritual movement disguised as direct selling.
How's that grab everybody? How would you like to be a part of something like that? How would you like to make part of something like that your mission in life? And there's so many friends of mine from the rooms watching this show, and I'm not going to call you out because I cannot give away your anonymity. I can give away mine. But at the end of the day, that's what we're all about. And the money is a byproduct. You are selling hope here. And with that fact that you're selling hope comes great responsibility. I mean, we've got a responsibility to the world. We were given our lives back. You 30 years ago, you how many years ago?
13.
13. And here's the deal. Every one of you have got that kind of responsibility. And if you start taking it that seriously, where it goes beyond your product, where it goes beyond the money that you can make, and you realize the big game that you can play in changing this world and changing the attitudes that this world has toward other human beings, it becomes something that's going to pop you out of bed at 2 o'clock in the morning. Wouldn't you agree? That's what I can't wait to get to work. What now, James? Where are you? 48, 49. Yeah, we got to take a break. We're coming back right after this. It's the Tom Chenault Show on Genesis Communication Network. And we're back. Great job. Hand me my briefcase, Jay. My battery died. Yeah, holy mackerel. Contactmapping.com. Get in there. Go to it. If you see Adrian Chenault, he's up in Glenwood Springs in the hot springs. You got to love that place. You guys ever been there?
Love that place.
Oh, my gosh. But I'm dying to see how many of your old friends, Sandy Greenberg.
Love Sandy.
Oh, this morning he was all over you, man. He just said he loves you. Thinks that he was. So James, what you guys don't know is James has been an icon. How much money did you sell on QVC?
50 million.
50 million on QVC.
A year.
I didn't even know you started. I ran into Andy Brandt. You know Andy Brandt?
Uh-huh.
Andy told me you started Mix One a couple of days ago
Yeah.
with a bunch of guys. So you've been through you've done a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. I've been fortunate.
Yeah, but here you are back in this rat race.
Yeah, and you know why?
Why?
I love people.
Yeah, and this is where
You know what? I listen. This is a completely selfish endeavor. What Chris and I and Tommy, the three of us are doing here is a completely selfish endeavor. We come to realize that the one thing that we love more than anything is being around people who want to grow. And you know what? You can do retail till the cows come home and you can make transactions all day long. But if you're not part of something bigger than you, then you will always be alone and you will always be a deficit.
And you're up at 8,000 feet up there in the mountains by yourself.
Yeah, and I come down every day.
Yeah, because you don't want to be by yourself.
I don't want to be by myself.
I know. We're buying this house out here in the middle of, we're 3.5, we're like 50 yards from Two Dog Diner. Or another coffee shop's right down the street. But every time I've ever looked for a house in my life, I've looked at it in proximity to coffee shops and restaurants I go to. I can't stand being alone. I absolutely am. And I'm a closet introvert that hates to be alone. I like to be alone around a lot of people, I think. What's that mean? Whacked.
Human.
Yeah, so that's what I am. I don't even know what I am. I am what I am. All right, so what else do you want to talk about? We're on the break, so you can talk about anything you want. I'm trying to get back on the Facebook so I can actually see which friends of yours are on here.
Yeah, I think might be fun to talk about after we come back. It's really, really all about this whole idea that this industry as it stands today, and Tommy, maybe giving your perspective more, because I think what people are really interested, at least from what we're hearing in our little group that we're building with Well & Company, is, how do you do this in such a way that the authenticity comes through without it looking like it's just, how should we say, a repackaging of an old story?
It's in the coffee shop interview that's in contactmapping.com. You've got to drop people off right where they want to be. You've got to go into every conversation that you have. That was a nice tee up, by the way, Anita. We didn't do it on purpose. And I don't even know if you asked a question, but I'm going to answer it as though we did. But you got to look at people as human beings and not with an agenda. Their agenda has to be yours, and you have to drop them off right where they want to be. When James called, when he wrote me that email and I was in Sydney, it wasn't a recruiting call by me. It was when I called back, it was, what can I do to serve James Rouse? And he lives his life like that. So does Chris. And if you live to serve, if you take a look at literally every network marketing biggie out there, every one of them are servant leaders. That starts with Garrett McGrath, that Eric Worre, Fraser Brooks, Rob Sperry, Mark J., who's one of us over in Hawaii. You can go right down the list, man. Every one of those people are so care about people. I was with Sherry Tree this weekend from Bank and her wife Esther, and it was insane the level of love for the other human being those two people had. I mean, I never got it being around them until when I was there, I was blown away, and I wasn't amazed by their success at all because they love people so hard. And if you love people so hard, you're going to get past your agenda and you're going to get into theirs, and everything's going to shift for you. That's my answer to your question.
That's a great answer.
Yeah, I made it up.
And you know what?
My wife said to smile more. I'm thinking, I can't smile. These guys are too smart.
And it goes back to something that I think that, everyone is part of this industry, especially in the wellness side. We're always looking for anecdotal evidence about what Tommy just said. Well, is love really going to help me physiologically, or is love going to help my business? Yes and yes. Because here's what's really cool about love is that love not only helps you circulate oxytocin, which is not only awesome for your heart, but oxytocin is contagious. And I think this comes back to the way that we don't worry about recruiting. We worry about whether or not what's coming through us is literally circulating in such a way that it's true, that it's altruistic, and it has no agenda. What we know about the Okinawans who live longer than anybody else on the planet is because they have a word, ikigai, which simply means I have a reason to get up in the morning that's bigger than me. Yeah. And that whole idea of actually getting up and can't wait to go out and outlove the darkness, outlove the hate, is not only a spiritual predisposition, it's a physiological game changer.
Yeah. That is so cool. You're 100% right. Too bad we're on break and only
Oh,
like 2
shoot.
people working here. Somebody.
God, would you stop being smart on break? Breaks are for the keeping around.
I can do that one again.
Oh my God, that is so funny. Yeah, I'm like, so I'm looking, you say, and Denise is going, smile, Tom. And I wasn't smiling because I'm trying to figure out whether we're on break or not because of James Chinese. I mean, if you guys could figure out this Chinese from James of whether we're on break or not, you would understand why I'm such a hot mess here. But that's the way it goes, man. Yeah, I love my life. I love you. I love my life. I love everything about what we do. I love the difference we get to make. I love the fact that I don't have a boss, so I don't have a quota, so I don't have to agendavise somebody that doesn't want to be agendavized because I have to answer to a boss. I get to answer to myself and I get to answer to God. And I don't have to treat a human being like a prospect unless they are one, which is pretty cool.
How cool is that?
I should have said that during the show too.
Contact
Contactmapping.com.
Our best stuff happens.
Jim Piccolo, Margaret Bates, I love Dylan, Denise Dunlap, you are an angel. I hope you're all coming to Longmont this weekend. We're having a big event and these guys are speaking. It's going to be over the top. So if you can come no matter what company. And we're back. It's Tom Chenault. Final segment of the Tom Chenault Show. We got Chris Ebersberg. We've got Dr. James Rouse on the show in the house. Nobody ever comes to visit.
We came up here.
This is unbelievable. Yeah, and it was really crazy. And I had a different shirt on, and Denise goes, "You're not really going on the radio with that shirt." And I go, "Yes, I am." And then Fraser Brooks goes, "Tom, you've got nose hairs." So I'm driving down the road pulling nose hairs. It's been a terrible day, but here we are on the radio. It's a great day with these two guys because I'm going to tell you one thing right now. They lead with their hearts. They fired their brains. And that's where my success in my entire career has come from. And ironically enough, it's been the same thing for both of these guys. And it's only going to get better if you will do that. If you will get rid of all that garbage, like your products on the table, and just bring your best self. And the people that personally develop the most win every time, right or wrong.
Right or wrong?
Wrong.
Yeah, it's really something. When we were at break, Tommy was saying a lot of amazingly smart things, and we were just nodding our heads. And the biggest one of all was this whole idea that, physiologically and spiritually, we do better with love. And we talked a lot about the Okinawans as the people who live the longest in this entire world. They constantly, every year, it's the centenarians, and they boast this blue zone where people live the longest and the strongest. And what they found out is that they have a philosophy. Well, they actually have two philosophies. Number one, ikigai, which basically means I have a reason to get up in the morning that's bigger than me, which is kind of a spiritual way of looking at intrinsic motivation. It's about something bigger than you. But also something, this is kind of cool, Tommy and Chris, you guys all love this. When someone is born in Okinawa, they're putting something called a moi. And a moi is basically an intentional community of 5 other human beings who were born in the same week that you were. And you were asked to actually be together with them at least once a week for the next 100 years. What they have found is that chosen family, i.e. network marketing, will actually physiologically augment every part of who you are. Being around chosen family, being seen, being vulnerable, being open, being cheered for, and cheering for others literally changes our DNA. Network marketing is an incubator of awesome. Network marketing is anti-aging medicine. It has a side effect of abundance, both material and spiritual.
What do you think of that, Chris?
I think we're in a new age. And that's how it's really supposed to be. James brought up in one of our meetings a couple of weeks ago, this concept of really not really looking at what we do as direct selling, but as direct serving. And you can't really serve people genuinely and with true authenticity unless those skills are developed. And that's really what our mission is to help people develop those relationships, not just keep track of them. Contact mapping is an excellent tool for us to really keep track of where people are at, but also develop our emotional skills, our emotional intelligence, so that we're sensitive to when people are hurting. We're sensitive to when people are celebrating, so we can celebrate with them and get a free hit off of there. It's a free lapse on their high, right? On their oxytocin. It's being sensitive to what really is. And it's not fleeting. It has to be non-transactionary. It's got to be transformative, right? That's what I really so love about this, because community is not about just because we happen to be in a demographic. We're not a demographic community. We're a community of choice, and where the community comes first, and we have a responsibility to make sure that the whole is well, because there's too much tearing us apart. And I don't care, like Tom was saying, political orientation, religious orientation, sexual orientation. We're all human beings. We're of one orientation. We're of the human race. And we all have to step together and help us achieve our greatest potential. We all want the exact same thing. All humans just want to be loved and acknowledged. That's all I want. That's what Tom wants. That's what you want. And we want people around us that help us to do that to others, to be receptive to that. And that's what network marketing, network serving is all about. And that's our mission. That's what it's all about.
And I will tell you something that, you know, this whole political climate, and then you got Epstein and the Me Too thing and all the garbage going on there with Weinstein, or whatever that goofball's name is. What that's done is had me look inside of myself a lot and say, where have I been like that? Where have I been a racist? Where have I been a sexist? Where have I been judgmental? And it's given me a chance, and I'm certainly not on the caliber of those human beings that I just brought up, but there's room for improvement in me. And one thing good about these people, and I go to an AA meeting literally every day of my life, and 90% of that meeting is something that I don't want to hear. 10% of it's good, but also I walk out of there seeing how I don't want to be sometimes, you know, and what I'm seeing is how I don't want to be. I don't want to be judgmental. I don't want to be sexist. I don't want to be racist. I don't want to be a bully. I want to be a loving, kind human being. And those people have done me a favor because they put it in perspective for me. Does that make any sense?
Sure does.
Yeah. So that's been a good thing.
Yeah, and I think that's really coming back to why this show exists, why network marketing exists, why Tommy is beloved by so many people across the planet. I think Tommy's diet of choice has always been, for me, as I've known him, Tommy's a possibilitarian. That's what he eats every day.
Cool.
And a possibilitarian dines on the idea of growth, potential, and possibility. And if we all just decided that we were going to use this industry, looking at it as simple as this is a world where every flower blooms under the influence of love, and your only job is to make sure that you help someone to pollinate. And how do you pollinate another human being? By simply looking in their eyes, smile at them, see something good in them, and don't be afraid to extend it and express it. Nothing good happens until it's released in energy, and when it is, it transforms. There is a garden of human beings across this planet who are dying to be nurtured, and a possibilitarian takes it upon themselves to make sure those people are not forgotten. We have a great big job to do here. There is a garden that waits.
All right, next week, Larry and Taylor Thompson. They were partners with Mark Hughes, 50 years in the profession. Cute couple, really know their stuff. You're going to love them next week on the Tom Chenault Show. Thanks for listening.
Peace out.
And we're back. So, all right, we got a few more minutes. If you have questions for these guys or anything else, Pat Kendall, hello, how are you? Steven, stay. This is awesome. Authenticity is everything. You know, Ryan Enright, unbelievably brave kid. He's up in Glenwood Springs right now with his mother mowing her field, trying to watch this show. Really cool. Dennis Nordquist. I don't know if you guys know him. Nordquist.
Hey, Dennis.
Yeah, you know Nordquist. I forgot about that.
Hi, Dennis. I don't know you, but I love you.
He was an old new skin guy. He's like 100. Jim Piccolo, unbelievable guy. I mean, just really, really cool to have you all on here. Now, don't forget this on the contact mapping front. If you share this show, I'm going to give you $5 off on one of these shirts. Now, the good news is these shirts are tremendous. The bad news is they had to order so many more of them because at the ANMP, they just went out. So this is the only size we have. So this will fit Denise Chenault. It won't fit Tom Chenault. So you need to know if you're tiny, you're going to get the shirt in a hurry. But I'll figure out the price. I'll figure out how to get it to you, and I'll tell you the truth. So you're not waiting for it forever. I'll tell you, but my word's good. I'll give you whatever the best price is, less $5 on the shirt. And if you don't have the money, I'll finance it to you at $1 a year. So whatever it is, I don't give a rat's about that. I just love you guys. That's, oh my God, I'm a train wreck. So anybody got any questions? Thanks for the time. We remind you, Ryan Enright saying all kinds of nice stuff. I don't even know what that means. I love you guys. I love you. I love you. And I love you. And know that. And you can do it if you just have that philosophy. If you go through your life, not being a bully, not being sexist, not being a racist, not being any of that stuff, just be not, I'm bi. That's what I am. I'm bipartisan, bisexual, what else? Religious, all those things I am. It's just that simple. It's that simple. What's wrong with that? Well, maybe not bisexual, but
Should we end the show now? I'm just wondering.
I thought you were trisexual.
Well,
You try anything that feels good.
all right, there you go. I love you guys all very, 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 very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Michelle, love you.